In today's video, I will be showing you how to get the most out of your embossing folder by using both sides. Hello everyone, Jen Leonard here, one of the Altenew educators, and today's video is part of the Altenew Educators Anything Goes video hop. There is a hop list in my description. Please visit along each hop as we have prizes. This elegant but simple card is so easy to make. You only need pumpkin pie, starlight, and embossing ink along with the Ranunculus Bouquet 3D embossing folder. So let's take out our pumpkin pie and using about an 80-pound piece of cardstock, get your large blending brush and go over sort of in a diagonal movement. And the beauty of this is you don't have to be a blending expert. All you have to do is cover whatever part of the cardstock you wish using circular motions, of course, but it can be in any areas that you want. Then we go in with the Starlight ink, and then you're going to cover the card in the spots that you didn't use the pumpkin pie with. And again, you're going to do nice blending. It does not have to be perfect. In fact, you don't want it to be. You want some variation of color. But what you're going to find is the two colors, the Starlight and the pumpkin pie, create a third color. So you want to use inks that have the ability to create a third color. Now, here's the tip on this. You want to use your Ranunculus 3D embossing folder so where the color is down, where on the debossed side, we want to make an imprint in the ink, not an embossing. We want to deboss this. And then we're going to take our embossing ink and with a gentle hand, just sort of touch upon some of the raised edges all along. It can be as little or as much as you would like. And then what happens is wherever that embossing ink touches, once you put your antique gold embossing powder on, now I did use a heavy hand, but that's okay. We have tweezers for that. Once you tip or tap all that off, you're going to be left with the embossing powder on top of the areas that you inked with the embossing ink. So next, take out an old paintbrush. Use one that you really just use for this sort of technique because there will be leftover embossing powder in the brushes. And just brush off the extra embossing powder that you wish to remove from the card. You can remove as little or as much as you want. Whatever remains, remember, will get heat set and melted onto your card. Once I'm happy with the amount of embossing powder left, I then take out my heat gun and I do let it warm up for about 30 seconds. And then I gently use the heat gun on top of the embossing powder, moving it from the back side and the front side and then back again. I don't like to concentrate too much on one area as I don't want to warp the paper. So once this is all heat set, you can really see, again, right now how elegant this card is with just a very few crafting supplies that you may have on hand. Again, you can use any ink colors that blend well. And if you don't have an embossing heat gun, well, maybe ask for one for your birthday. It is just a must-have tool in any crafter's toolbox. Here is our finished product, and all we have left to do is put our sentiment. And for this card, I chose monsteras and quotes. I absolutely love these encouraging thoughts. And the best part to me about making a homemade card is it can be so specific to your recipient. And I will say Altenew has some amazing sentiments out there. So a card for everyone. Keeping in line with the theme of the card, I'm going to prep my card base with the anti-static powder, use Altenew's embossing ink to make our sentiment pop. And then once I get that nice and centered on the card, go ahead with some gold embossing powder, tap it off, and get it all heat set. So here we are mounting the card. I needed a little frame to make all of our colors pop. Here's our finished product. It is spectacular. So now, 2 for 1. Same embossing folder, but this time we're going to use the emboss side, which is where you see the raised flower. That's the debossed. So I love these embossing folders because many times you can get two cards out of the same embossing folder. So wait till you see this. This will turn into a hot mess and look horrible, but wait until you see the finished product. So I am getting the Spring Garden water marker sets, did some light spray on the watercolor paper, and then went in with my inks. I'm sorry, I don't have the names right in front of me. Did some generous ink dropping. This is very very concentrated, my apologies, very concentrated ink. So you want to go in with the light hand and then spread your ink around with a brush. I believe this is olive. I'm going in, dropping in. But when you are working with any type of watercolor medium, it always looks darker in the beginning because it's wet. So keep that in mind, as when these inks begin to dry, you will have a lighter effect. So I am just for fun going around the leaves. When I started this card, I really had no idea how this was going to turn out. It was an afterthought because I, again, think that getting the bang for your buck out of one embossing folder, and you get two techniques, many techniques actually on an embossing folder, but these are just two of the ones that I find to be the most dramatic. So I'm pulling in the olive ink, spreading that ink around, trying to get into all the corners. Again, it's going to pick up mostly on the raised images. And the nice thing with watercoloring, it is forgiving. So if you found that you put on a little bit too much, you can go back in, dilute it with some water. You can take your rag and, dab some of the excess pigment up. And this is going to be very artsy, very flowing. If you like preciseness in a card, this may not be the technique for you, but if you like some surprises, then this is definitely a technique you will want to try. So I'm going in with my last bit of color, adding in some more depth on those leaves because, again, I know that it is going to dry on the lighter side. And then to finish off the card, I'm taking some of the blue to give it a little bit more of no, I changed my mind. I went in with some purple to play off of the pink, giving it a little dimension around. Again, I really have no idea how this is going to turn out. This was just a fun, I had some time to kill. I'm like, hey, why not make a card like this and see what happens? So I let the camera keep rolling, and I'm really happy that I did. At this point, you're thinking, there's no way this is going to turn out into anything beautiful. I actually had doubts myself, and here's our finished product. I let this dry overnight, maybe even 2 nights. I wanted this to set. The colors, when it dried, isn't it gorgeous? So here you go. Option 1 with the debossed and embossing ink and embossing powder, and option 2 with the watercoloring. I had so much fun sharing Anything Goes Video Hop with you today. And until next time, bye-bye.